Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to the One Thing Pastor's Blog at Prince of Peace Lutheran Church in Burnsville, Minnesota. My name is Jason Kramme, and I am the Director of Family Ministry here at Prince of Peace. And today I'm excited to share just a little bit about what God's been teaching me here in these last weeks. So this lesson, I think, began a few months ago when the quarantine started, which I realize seems like forever ago, right? Like all of a sudden on the 14th of March or whatever, our campus closed, and ever since, my family, maybe like your family, has just been like stuck in our house. And in a couple of months, though, like a month and a half, my kids are going to go back to school. I've got a soon-to-be third grader and a soon-to-be second-year preschool little guy, and it's probably going to happen in some form of in-person instruction. And so, like, I'm already thinking about like what happens after the quarantine and whatever normal looks like, but it's making me think about, what happened in the quarantine. How did life change? Like, what did I learn from this whole experience? And I think a lot, but it's, especially in my devotional life, in my relationship with God. Like a lot of people, before the quarantine happened, the way that I did devotions or my devotional life happened in like carefully portioned out times because it needed to. Like I did my devotions in the morning so that I would get them done, or else I wouldn't do them, because there's just too much stuff that happened in the day. And for the most part, a lot of the devotional work that I did was idea driven. Like I'd think about concepts and ideas. And so a lot of it happened here between my ears. And now that's not to say that a lot of that work didn't make its way from my head to my heart. A lot of it did. But I'm finding out that probably not nearly as much that could have made it into my body, into my health, and into my heart did. And I've realized that here, especially in the last month of this quarantine, as I've just noticed a whole lot of markers of health, like physical health, that I haven't noticed in a while in me. And a few examples. I'm not struggling with insomnia right now. I have always, my entire life, just been an awful sleeper. I can never stop thinking. And as soon as it feels like I stop thinking, I start like stupid early in the morning. But I've noticed I've been sleeping the amount of time that a 35-year-old guy needs to be sleeping every night. My cholesterol has gone down. My weight has gone down. Not that I had a lot to lose, but I had some fluff. What are you going to do? I have been exercising a lot, and so my VO2 max has gone down. My resting heart rate has gone down. My heart rate chart numbers have shifted down. I have clear skin for the first time in I don't even know how long. I've got curls for the first time since 2009. Most of that's just I haven't got my hair cut, but all this stuff I've been noticing. And my wife, the person who sees me every day, has been noticing as well. And I think individually, I probably wouldn't have noticed those things, but like kind of all together and in this specific window of time, I'm kind of like, wow, I'm healthier than I have been in, I don't even know. I don't even know how long. Why is that? And so, health typically is a lagging measure, right? Like it follows activity. If you want to lose weight, don't eat as much and work out. Like math here equals results over here. And so activities here equal health over here. I think that sometimes what happens in our devotional lives and in our spirituality is that we like make it this thing that happens from the neck up and is super spiritual and isn't a part of our body. But we have to remember, and what I'm really learning and reclaiming in my life as a result of all this stuff is a real thorough creational theology. Like God made us and so is interested in the stuff that God made, right? And so as I look back at why I'm healthy now, I'm realizing that it's because I've been engaging with this body that God has made in some real specific ways. And in ways that after the quarantine, for the life of me, I'm hoping I can hold on to as devotional practices. Like, and here's the real key. Like, I want to hold on to them as devotional practices. And here's what they are. Number one, I'm going to keep on exercising. For most of my life, I've looked at exercise, and I have actually treated it, sort of as a vain pursuit to like lower a number on a time or something like that, or to increase my placing in a race. But what I've been realizing as a result of the work that I've been doing, using the breath that God has given me, Genesis 2:7, is that in doing so, I've been becoming more in touch with the God that made me, and the aliveness that God breathed into me when God knit me together in my mother's womb. And so I'm going to continue to exercising as a devotional habit. Number two, I'm going to keep retreating into nature. I remember talking to my wife years ago. When you have like those conversations with your spouse, your significant other, or like a really good friend, where you're like trying to like tell them who you are and like what's important to you and like what how you tick and stuff like that. I remember years ago telling my wife the way that when I was in high school, one of the activities that centered me the most was I would come home and I would take my school bag and I'd set it on the floor. I would put on my hiking shoes and I would just walk out the back door of my house. We lived in the woods, and I would just walk in the woods. And I remember telling her that I never felt more even. I never felt more centered than when I spent time out in nature. And during the quarantine, I've been spending a lot of time in the woods. I've got some woods behind my house. But here in the South Metro and the suburbs, we have some amazing parks that I've been able to spend time in with my boys, which has been awesome. And I've realized that that is a devotional habit. Because as a created being, spending time in God's created nature, I am becoming more connected. And that's a devotional habit that I want to keep after the quarantine, is staying in nature. The third one is this. Number 3 is this: meals. For so much of the last years, ever since, I'm not going to blame this on my 8-year-old, but it's kind of his fault. But ever since he was born and like we started running from place to place and, life just got busy, like we stopped having meals together. I mean, it definitely began with we weren't having breakfast together, and definitely we weren't having lunch together because we're at work and stuff. But it began to be that we weren't having dinner together because there was just stuff happening in the evenings. But since the quarantine started, we've been having every single meal together as a family. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And Jesus, in his ministry, like when he wanted to signify to people that they were a significant relationship to him, what did he do? He invited them to a meal. And I want my kids to know that they're a significant relationship to me. And so after the quarantine, I want to continue to invite them to meals with me. And I know it's not going to work to do like lunch or whatever, but man, I'm going to consider it a devotional practice to sit down with them and eat that Cliff Bar in the morning for breakfast, or that bowl of cereal, or to make sure that there are nights during the week where we are having dinner together and recognizing and seeing each other around the table. I feel like that's been feeding my soul. The fourth devotional practice that I hope to keep after this quarantine is done, that I think has been leading to a lot of health for me, and this is my favorite one, and maybe it's going to be your favorite too: naps, y'all. Maybe it's, I don't have to walk between meetings. I don't have to, jump right into the compression of what I learned after one meeting to get ready for the next meeting. Or, there's just a whole lot of 5 and 10-minute chunks of my day that aren't pressing on me anymore. And that's all you need for a restorative tiger snooze. And so I've been doing that. I have listened to my body during the day, and wouldn't you know it, it tells you when you're tired. And the thing has been listening to that God-given alarm bell um, um, when it goes off, and not just hitting mute on it. And I think that that's what I was doing prior to the quarantine, over and over and over and over again. And I think that's why I've had an eye twitch since 2018, which, by the way, is gone as a result of the quarantine. And so, a devotional practice that I'm going to take into life after the quarantine is I'm going to listen when my body tells me I'm tired. And maybe it's not going to work every day that I can get a 5 or 10 minute tiger snooze. That's what I say to my kids. Nap in, but I'm sure going to try. Because, and this is, how I'll wrap this whole thing up. You know, God has given me wisdom and a discerning spirit to look at what's happening in me and around me, what's working and what's not. And I feel like this quarantine has been a liminal space where I have seen what leads to health, physical health. And I've learned that physical health isn't just like this thing separate from our spiritual health, but it's definitely intertwined. And especially like as people who claim to have a real creational theology, like we say that God made us, and so why would it not then follow that we should act on that, like that we are created beings, physical beings. And so I would love to hear what you have been learning as a result of this quarantine about your devotional life. And I would also love to hear if any of these 4 things, breathing more often, getting into nature, meals with people you love, and taking naps are things that you plan to do after the quarantine, or if you've got some things that I haven't thought of, maybe I need to try. I'm up for whatever. But I'm so thankful for being able to journey with you guys. And I'm also thankful that I can be candid and that I can share what's really going on in my spiritual life with you. It's not, I think sometimes you can kind of stand at a distance as a staff person in a church and sort of keep the congregation at arm's length and try to stand on a pedestal and feel like you're holy. But like one of the things that's so awesome about Prince of Peace and that I've appreciated so much about all the staff people, the pastors, is that like we're in this together. We're a community and we're all trying to figure this journey out. And I just appreciate that so much. And so I'd love to engage with you a little bit more on this if you have a chance and to hear what's going on in your life. So thank you so much for joining this week, and have a great rest of your day. Bye.